Welcome to episode number, what number are we on, baby? 7?
7.
Is it 7?
7.
7.
7.
Episode 7. This is Real Talk with Casey and JoJo. What's up, Casey?
What's up, JoJo?
We're getting to that middle of the balance between good and evil, aren't we? I just want to give a recap. Ready?
Please.
So we are doing the signs of the zodiac and how that relates to your relationship, the aspects of each sign and how you can find those aspects within a relationship. So this is number 7. We are now talking about Libra, and that is the balancers of you're weighing out the scales. That's what this is called. But we just went over the little things in Virgo, and now it's moving over to the negative influence, right? If you're looking at the zodiac, we just went through the entire top part of it, and now we're entering the scales, right? We're entering that balance between day and night, between enlightenment and darkness or dark consciousness, whatever. We're just really at that point of the balance. And in the story that is ours, do you want to say, because you're making a weird face, but
no, I'm just please continue.
Do you want to share where we left off and where we are in our story on this journey of
no, please, you're killing it.
You're just making a face like you're ready for something.
No. You never know with you though.
Yeah, true. I throw those like left field,
yes,
or curveballs. So anyway, we were talking about the little things that keep us in a relationship and also the little things that break us apart. And during this entire part of our journey, I should say, which is years, right? We were being shown, as in the light was shining on all the things that we needed to fix, all the things that were coming up to the surface that we need to work on. And we were very stubborn and we didn't see that. But it came to the point where we were both really just sick and tired of the cycle. Like we had been going around and around the same, come on, you guys have heard it. Seriously, the ups and downs, like reading back on my journals and looking at one page and things are great. And I can't believe I love this man so much. He's amazing. And, he still gives me butterflies. The next page is the things are horrible. We hate each other. We can't stand each other. We don't want to be next to each other. And I would flip over page after page after page, and it would just be this back and forth and back and forth. And I was so sick of that whole back and forthness, really. The whole, let's try again. Let's move to a new home. Let's try again. New home, new us, hey. And it never really panned out that way.
It doesn't work that way, does it?
No. Do you want to talk now? I've talked a lot.
No, please.
No, I don't want to talk the entire time.
You're building the momentum. I don't even know where we're starting. That's why I can't intervene. I don't know. We're starting
with the aspects of weighing things.
I get that.
The balance. How does it feel looking back at everything that happened during this time frame, all, Aries through where we are now, and seeing that there was a lot of responsibility there that was yours, knowing what's about to come, knowing that it's about to go into the dark side, and things are about to the scales are about to get balanced, and things are about to, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I reading all these, I was sort of thinking as we get into this section, the shit was going to get easier. You know what I mean? Like we were going to start talking about all the stuff that you have done or that you did. And then sort of my dark night of the soul, woe is me. When, at the end of the day, that's just my ego, right? Wanting to lash back out, or in some way, in a very minimal way. But yeah, like I last night, sort of had this like realization that, when we talk about the things that you did and we've gone through, and I've read your diary entries, the one you've allowed me to read, it's like I don't remember that person. I don't know who that was. I mean, that I know that was me, but it doesn't feel like, how could I have been that way? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, I don't recall just being like that. You know what I mean? In terms of like, it just seems like that's not me. I don't know what, I know
Yeah, yeah.
a
You
better way to
read it
say
and you're
it.
like, I did that. Like you,
Right.
like
Like
your
that was,
memory just
and
blurred.
it blows my mind too that like we're here, like you're here, like you came back even after all that. Holy shit. And I struggle with it. I mean, it's something that it's just hard going through it, looking back on it. But interestingly enough, kind of going back to last night, is that now I'm more focused on the little things that I did, the death by a thousand cuts over 12 years, 15 years, whatever it is, that I did to you, and less worried about what you did to me. Right. Which,
So you were holding on to a lot of energetic weight about what I had done, basically. And now you're kind of looking at the other side of the coin and going, maybe there's a lot of energetic weight that I've been holding on to about what I did to you. And I just didn't realize it.
yeah, like, I mean, it's a realization of knowing that I don't need like that doesn't serve me anymore, right? Like, I'm tired of carrying that dead weight of what you did. It doesn't serve me, it doesn't help me. Like, I'm over it. So just drop it.
So is this
But
helping you
in
understand it better?
Well, yeah, but in dropping it, you then kind of have to go back and accept all the things that I did, being, in some ways cruel, and just not, and just remembering those things. Because I think, you bury it. When you tell the story, the victor always writes the history books, right? So it's like, when you go back and you tell your story over and over again in your mind, it's not how wrong you were, it's how wrong the other person was. And woe is me. And why did they do this to me? And I didn't deserve this, and on and on and on.
Until you see it from their perspective.
Right, which is what this diary has shown me. And it's like, I had never even made the connection in some of the entries that that it was like that, right? Like, for example, if I may, I don't know if I can,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
your poem,
Right.
right? Like,
This was in the manifestation, spring manifestation book. Um, it was actually the last chapter of the book, which became kind of like my entire second book.
yeah, so I'm reading an entry from that, and I'd read it before, but again, this was a while back, so I'm reading it again, and I'm just dissecting it. It's like, she wrote me this. Is it, can I call it a letter,
It was a
a
poem
poem?
that took me 2 hours to write.
That took her 2 hours to write, and it's essentially the fate of our relationship rested on this poem, right?
This was what was going to weigh the scales. Seriously.
And I read it, and in the entry, she basically, I looked at her, and like, I'm assuming pretty, pretty unlovingly, or just numb, and was like, we're done. And how devastated she was, because that was like the
Effort.
last effort of, yeah, hey, look, you're either gonna do this or we're not. And so, I made the decision, because I'm acting in my ego. It's all the things she's done. It's all the, things, the storm that's ahead of us that I can see if we keep going down this path, and I'm tired, and we're tired, and this is bullshit. So I'm done. Like it is what it is. Let's move on.
And after all of these things that we had been through, it was like all of that came up to the surface all at once. It was like all the pain that I had suppressed throughout all this time came up, and I was no longer going to numb myself. It was like, no, I'm going to face my pain dead on, and I'm going to feel it. I'm going to go get tattooed. I'm going to go get myself into trouble. I'm going to go hang out, do whatever, wherever the wind blows, and feel the pain. And that's where I was.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, the way you expressed your pain was more extrovertly, right? Mine was definitely introvertly. Like, I had expressed my pain extrovertly, death by a thousand cuts, right?
Right.
Over a long period of time. So, we essentially traded places. When I said, peace, we're done, then, you again start expressing your anger, your frustration, your pain. And then, obviously I find out, move on, and I then have to deal with my own shit, right?
Yeah, which
Deal.
we're not there yet. So no, because
Sorry.
because no, it's fine. Like that's where it begins. This is where that journey begins, where you start to deal with your stuff, right? Your pain because of my darkness. Let's just call it that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, like as couples, husband and wife, whatever, like our own growth, I think our growth as a couple did not begin until we were both able to understand each other in a sense that, like, I know the pain you can cause me, I know the pain that I can cause you, but I'm not interested in fighting with you anymore. I only want to heal, and I only want to take responsibility for my own actions, right? Like if you're in this cycle of fighting that we were in, and you're trying to get out of it and you're trying to get out of it, both parties have to come to an agreement and say, yo, like I don't want to do this anymore, right?
Right.
Like that was the only way that we were going to get out of the cycle, was by taking responsibility and stop pointing the finger. Like it wasn't about you, it was about me. It was
Yeah.
about my lessons.
Yeah. But that's like
Hard.
Sagittarius.
Oh, I'm jumping ahead again.
Yeah.
So sorry.
But that's where we're going with this, is that eventually we have to have an end or a death of us in order to start a new cycle. But we weren't there yet. We were at the point of, I've been in this white circle of the yin and or the yin, whatever, the yin and the yang, and I've been in this white circle and you've been over here in this dark, and now I'm about to go down this little black hole and be on this dark side, then, if that's how you want to be, right? And that's where you were like, oh shit, let me find the tunnel that's gonna that's gonna bring me the light, and you're over here trying to find the light, trying to get to the other side, and I'm like, I'm trying to get to the dark now. Because there was times where I was doing challenges like the fireproof challenge. We watched that fireproof movie about like fireproofing your marriage. That's where I started to get into like Joyce Meyer and like basically all the more religious types like things, but I was more into the scripture until that got to the point where I needed more, and I kind of outgrew that. But that was when you were like calling me names and things for trying to get more,
like a holy roller.
Yes, because I was being spiritual and I was like trying all these things and using scriptures and all this. I was trying to get into that with myself. I was trying to get closer to God. And because you were so heavily in your ego, you would get so mad at me when I would be the light, and you would be like,
but then I turn around and we'd go to see Joyce Meyer in Raleigh together. So I don't know. Light and dark.
Right. Both. So, this was a time frame where there was a lot of effort put into it. And I was doing this whole 40-day challenge. And this is when I found out that you had been talking or texting with someone. I find out through like 63 pages of texting 63 pages of texting on our phone bill. And when I went to his office to see what he would say, he lied. And so when I showed him, he was mad at me for finding out. And I remember calling her like, look, you can have him. I don't even want him because, of course, I have the number. And that was hell. So all these things were the 1,000 cuts, right? And that was the summer right before, like one year before we split up and this whole poem thing happened. That poem was what weighed the scales again. That was like the deciding factor of, okay, I gave it all that I can. Now I'm about to go to the other side. You coming with me or not?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I went to the dark side and I was like evil. It wasn't like that. It was more like I was crying and I was on my knees going, God, can I ever feel again? Because I was so numb. I didn't know what feeling anything would feel like. I don't know. Can I feel love again? Can I feel what anything again, really? And that was at the point when
Anything other than pain.
Yeah, anything other than pain. So, I was heavily drinking. What else? I was going out. I started, how do I say this?
Dabbing. I don't know. Dibbing, dabbing
with certain people.
Sure.
And that was me trying to kind of gather my self-worth because I was feeling like nothing. I felt like I wasn't good enough, right? Everything is like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. So I think I was trying to restore that and see how I felt. Like, did I still feel good enough with somebody else? Did it make me feel like so it's like I was looking for validation of myself. And
Yeah.
of course, that's not the best way to do
No,
it.
and I was doing the exact opposite. I was like a hermit. I never did anything. All I did was work out, go to work, come home, hang out with the kids whenever it was my weekend.
And then who started reading the Bible and looking all into it and all that stuff? Then you came around the corner and started doing that
Then I
because
did the 40-day challenge.
yes, then you did the 40
She
day.
said, "Peace, I'm good."
Yo, I remember that. And that's crazy because I really got to the point where I was like, I'm not doing the cycle again, and I'm not going to allow you to creep into my life regardless. So I'm going to do whatever it takes so that you will not take me back, so that this is over and just buried and
Joke's on you.
right. And and it was crazy because so here I am and I started, I went on this date and
Just gonna hold something while she describes this.
sorry, babe. So I went
No,
on
it's all
this
good.
date and
We're healing.
it was like a blind date, sort of. Um, I say sort of because we had been talking, on Facebook Messenger back
It's not a
and
blind date.
forth. Okay, but this was
not
like
a
the
blind
first
date.
time we were like really seeing each other.
It's not a blind date. A blind date, you know nothing. You've never spoken. You've never met.
Okay. So
Just
whatever,
saying, let's get it
whatever.
right.
First time I see him.
It's a
So
date.
we go on this date
Trying to romanticize that
and
shit.
this was the first time that I had slept with somebody on the first date. Like
Nice.
ever.
Congrats. It's like an award.
I'm just saying it was different. It felt like I knew this person. Like as soon as I met them, I felt like there was something there, some type of weird soul connection of like, I've known you before, and it felt really comfortable. And I was like, whoa, I'm starting to feel again. Like, can this actually go somewhere? Because from there, like, yeah, we had sex. And then after that, like we were just friends, and we would, he would say goodnight every night. And those every nights, good nights, was that steady thing that I was talking about in the last episode, where it was constant. And that started my curiosity of, can this get to something? Can this become a relationship? Like, where is this heading? Where is this going? Because, I'm still in my dark side. I'm still healing. I'm still trying to understand. And I was very blunt and I was very honest about it. Like, look, I'm going through a separation. This is how it is. And, he was going through the same thing. So we kind of understood where we were at the time, and we were just kind of being there for each other until January 11th came around, and we like made it official, and we started being boyfriend and girlfriend. And I think that's where you realized, oh shit, she's moving on for real. But this was the journey actually that started a back and forthness for years, between trying to understand who this guy was to me, what he meant, why I was the way that I was, and who did I want to be with. I was very confused. So yeah, we're gonna go through that whole thing in the next episode.
You all right?
No, yeah, I'm saying,
okay?
I'm saying, like, are you okay? Because
Yeah, I'm good.
Because next episode is where it gets heavy. But this was the start of that. This was me basically going, enough is enough. I'm tired of not being happy. I'm tired of being in limbo, this whole Libra thing, right? Back and forth. I'm tired of being in limbo, and something has to change. And we just flip things around. And sometimes that has to happen. And I have to know what it's like to be on the side you were in, and you have to know what it's like to be on this side I was in. So until we find that balance, because essentially that is the key thing about Libra, is balance. And we were totally out of balance. So this was the beginning of trying to find that balance.
Yeah. And from my perspective, I mean, I'm like, okay. And I made the decision. It's like, look, doing something, and I'm not, no judgment. I'm just going to say this because this is the first thing that came to my mind. I was not going to do something stupid in terms of bringing someone else into the situation. right? Like that's just stupid. So, I needed to stop that loop, obviously, because, even though even though I never, like with this texting situation at 63 pages, there was nothing ever physical that happened from that, right? So it wasn't like, I mean, after during that 63-page time. It wasn't like I was, getting, there was no affair going on. It was just conversational, right? But that was for me fulfilling a need that she wasn't meeting, just like her search for this guy was fulfilling a need that I had failed to meet for a really long time. Right. So for me, again, it was like, okay, I got into this mess because of a 63-page text, which, again, it wasn't physical, it was just conversational, but it's still
But you know she
disrespectful to the
wanted, you know what
marriage.
she wanted.
Right, right, and I was just stringing
And
it along
yeah,
because
and
it
it was a
fulfilled a need for
teaser.
me.
Yeah.
Right, right, and so, for me, it's like, yo, I'm done with this cycle too. Like, if she's gonna be with this dude, awesome, but I need to stay in my lane and do something I've never done, which is respect our marriage to the best of my ability until a fucking decision is made. Right. And it was the hardest shit I've ever done in my life because, like I had to completely, my ego got destroyed. My self confidence got destroyed. My self image, everything just got
Everything. Well,
drugged
because you had
through
to, like, you
the
had to,
mud.
that identity that you were before, that person that you just said you couldn't, you didn't even know was you, had to go away somehow.
Right. And it's crazy because, like, I knew, like, it's almost like, seriously, like, the left brain, right brain. I mean, you're operating in a different state of consciousness, but I still knew all the stuff that I knew when I went through my dark night of the soul. I knew all those things. Right? Like, I knew how to treat you, I knew how to be with you, I knew how to talk to you, I knew how to not talk to you,
Right. But
but
it's
I
who's
couldn't
taking
control.
control.
Yeah, I couldn't control my behavior. It was like there was something within me, resentment, frustration, whatever.
Something you hadn't overcome,
Right,
that you hadn't
something,
healed
and
from.
what this did is it caused me to go so deep into it that it shattered, and I had to rebuild myself from the way up. But, I made the very conscious decision that I'm not going to fucking flinch in terms of making a mistake. I'm not. I'm gonna stay strong. I'm gonna stay here. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
But like,
stand
what
tall.
made you, after I told you? Okay. Because what happened is I ended up saying, hey, I, had sex with this dude and this one. And and this one, and this is what happened.
Yeah,
So how do you feel? Like, you don't want to come back to me, like, after I did all that, right? Like, why did you say, yeah, I do? Like, why? Like, no. You were supposed to say
because
no.
you wanted me to say no.
No, but I mean, at that point in time, I wanted you to say no. Of course, I don't want you to say no now, but
Well,
what
I
made
mean,
you say freaking,
so I
I
think
don't get it.
I think that when you're in the pit of, when you're in a shitty relationship and you love the person, but you just can't get right, you just can't right the ship for whatever reason. Um, like, you don't realize, you don't know what you don't know until you know, right? And so for me, it was like I wasn't focused on what's our family going to be like a year from now? What's our family going to be like 5 years from now? I was just focused on, I want to stop this bullshit. Like, the only way I know to stop is to move away and just kind of let things settle down and go from there. So that's what we did. But as soon as I move out, again, I found out about this dude by opening up a Facebook page and seeing this dude with his arm around her. And I'm like, oh, hold up, hold up. So I
It
didn't
was my
know,
profile
like,
picture.
I've never seen any shit like that before, right? Like, that's the first time I've ever seen that in our relationship. So that brought up feelings within me that I didn't know were still there. Like, I thought those were dead, right? Like, very protective, like, very, "No, hold the fuck up. Like, this isn't, like, you just not gonna step into this situation." And then my mind started going into the place of, is this dude gonna try to be a dad to my daughter? Fuck that. Is this dude gonna talk to my son and do whatever? Fuck that. Like, there's no fucking way that I'm, like, my family, we built this family for us, for no one else. And so for me, it's like all those feelings of, and all the things that I had forgotten about came to the surface. And, I'm not stupid, man. Like, I put myself in this situation. Yes.
Hmm.
There's nothing that I can do about this. This is where we are. I've got to lay in my bed and take it. I've just got to take it. So what made me say yes was the fact that I had forgotten, interestingly enough, all the little things, right? All the dreams, all the things that, that were really important to me that got lost somewhere along the way with the 80 hours a week and the two kids and the conversations and the fighting and everything else.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that that picture just brought it all into focus. Now let's be real. I didn't know how the fuck this was gonna happen. I didn't know if I'd be successful. But what I knew at the core of me was is that if if I walk the straight path and I respect our relationship until the day you either say, I want to make this work with you, or I'm going in this direction, like I could walk away and be abolished from all my previous sins. I did know that. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that was a big motivator for me too, because I did have feelings of wanting to like, get you back. But again, it's like this is the cycle, man. Like somebody's got to make a decision to fucking put your foot in the sand and just stop
It's
it.
crazy how you can look back though in hindsight and kind of realize that some things needed to happen in order for other things to happen. Like that's where my whole spiritual awakening happened. And I, was looking back at the years before that and going, man, that was a dark night of the soul, stretched out into years. But that's what I was going through because it was January 11th that I, started with him, and everything, the numbers 111 kept coming at us hardcore everywhere. And that picture was showing this like purple hue of light coming through and everything. And all these like spiritual stuff just started happening. And so I was starting to have this awakening. And I wasn't sure back then if my awakening was, if I was attaching my awakening to how I felt with him, or if I was, if it was just simultaneously at the same time, or if it was.
Yeah, like you didn't know if you were waking up to be with him or if you were waking up in your own journey and in your own path and for your own progression of your
Yeah,
life.
or like if these feelings of bliss that were coming to me because of this spiritual awakening were because of the love that I was feeling for him at the time. Was it love that made me have a heart opening and able to have a spiritual awakening because I was so numb and in pain for such a long time? You know what I mean? And so did this newfound love for this person and for this person who was there for me, who was, supporting all this pain that I was going through and whatnot, kind of being there for me. Like, is that what sparked it? Both, one or the other, you know what I mean? Like, so a lot of that was me going through a whole spiritual
It's
awakening.
confusing.
Yes. And that anyone who's going through that will know that you don't know what is up or what is down, sideways, inside out. You don't know what's going on. It's like you feel like you're going crazy. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next episode. So that's pretty much Libra balance. This is where we are in our journey of our relationship. And I hope that you can find something that resonates that has to do with you in your life and on the journey of self-discovery.
It's heavy.
It is.
It's heavy.
You cool?
Yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, man. Cause I mean, look, one of my biggest when we got back together, like I would throw it up in her face all of the time, the things that she did, because I couldn't like I know anybody watching this, dude, probably guys more than girls, but girls too probably are like, yo, my girl cheated on me. My girl did that shit to me. I'd never go back with her. Fuck that. Fuck that. I feel you because that's something that kept me in bondage, man, for a really long time because I had that same mentality, right? It's like
Yeah.
she really loved me. Why would she do this? Well, if I really loved her, why would I do what I did? Right. So by casting judgment on her, I'm only casting judgment on myself. Right. So when we talk about all this, for me, it's more about like I haven't processed what I did to you. You know what I'm saying? I haven't processed all the things that led to that moment. And that doesn't abolish you of any guilt. You did shit too, but you understand what I'm saying. Like I made so many mistakes and did so many things wrong. And just knowing that that's what I'm still processing, or balancing the scales on is just healing from and accepting that I did some shit to you that I had forgotten about. And you're not holding on to it. You're obviously good. So I need to let that go too. That's just heavy baggage. It's just dead weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I hope that like, not I hope, but the intention is that after this whole season and all these episodes are over, that we're, because it is therapeutic to talk about this and to do podcasts like live on certain things we don't even know what we're going to talk about. It's therapeutic. And so I think once we close the chapter on that, like we're good.
Hopefully, that's the plan.
That's the
That's the plan.
intention. That's the intention. All right. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time, and we're out. Peace.
Peace.